What's up, guys? This is Rainlin from RRB, and today I actually wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to actually talk about something that has been on my mind lately, something I've really been concerned about as of late. There's not really a name for it as far as I know, but I call it the facade of human nature. This idea that we as people are supposed to present ourselves a certain way in public, and that we're not supposed to, show our true selves in public, be who we're supposed to be. A lot of our beliefs, our political beliefs, and things like that, we're supposed to keep very hidden, and we're not supposed to show people who we are and tell them what we really believe about certain things. Before I go a little further into this, though, I did also want to mention that I have no notes. I'm not spark noting anything. This is all coming from the heart, from personal experiences, my life, things like that, and what I have so far as a very young person have come to terms with what I believe is the truth. Now, of course, being so young, my opinions about certain things may change as I get older. As a matter of fact, I'm almost certain they will. But for now, this is what I've come to understand. So, a great example, I think, right now is politics. With politics, a lot of people have this idea that you're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about who you really supported, who you voted for, all that stuff. I mean, it doesn't even really matter a whole lot where you come from. I mean, in all countries, this is pretty much a big no-no. A few countries, and I'm sure people might correct me on this, but a few countries are uh, a little more open about it. I've heard, Germany is very like that. But I haven't gotten a chance to go yet. I will be going to see some family there this Christmas, and I'll be able to confirm that a little more. But for the most part, from what I've come to understand, people just don't talk about that kind of thing. And I think that's very sad. I mean, and that's just one thing. But another big thing that seems to be a big heavy hitter with me is just yourself in general. Um, if you, as a person, are interested in, let's say, video games, right? You're a real big video game person like me. You play a lot of games, but you go to a school where people are more, sports minded. They're more about playing football, American football, the rest of the world football, whatever. Um, and so you're not going to have a lot of friends if you openly state that you're into video games. To fit in, you're going to have to keep up with the American football, hockey, tennis, whatever's really interesting there to people to really fit in. And I found that to always be a problem. That's what ruined a lot of my high school years. Um, was that I was very into very strange things. I've always been into, I like to make Halloween costumes. I like to do a lot of blacksmithing. I read, I write, I paint. I do a lot of things. I do martial arts. I do a lot of things in my spare time that prevent me from doing a lot of other things. And that includes keeping up with sports. I mean, I kind of like to watch American football every once in a while. I'm a pretty big, anyway, Bengals fan since I was very young. I kept up with hockey for a while. I'm gonna start keeping up with soccer a little bit this year. I kind of want to see what that's all about. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so no major opinions on it one way or the other. But some things like that. And uh, back then, I just really wasn't into it at all. And that should be no fault on me. But it socially isolated me from everyone. Even though, after a while, I did find out that there were people in that same area, in the same school, who did have views like me. But let me put it one way. Me as a very shy person, this was very, very hard. At the end of 4 years, I had 3 close friends and maybe 5 or 6 acquaintances, people I just talked to. It was very, very, very sad. I mean, back then I just viewed it as this was life, this was who I am, and it's just not going to change. And of course, as many people realize once they leave high school, it's very, very different. Things change a lot. But, and they did, and I have a lot more friends now, people who I would think are actual friends, people I actually hang out and do things with, and I'm very, very happy with that. But back then it was a nightmare. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who could actually attest to this, that they went through this kind of thing. And, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to complain about it. It is what it is. But I don't think people should have to go through this. People shouldn't have to go through this when there is always people nearby. There's always someone somewhere, usually very close by, who are like you know? And we just don't seem to be able to find them. Especially me as a very shy person. And why is this? Because we live, for the most part, a lot of people like me in areas where we're not supposed to talk about who we are. We're not supposed to really say, this is who I am, these are the things I like to do. We don't do that. We just don't do that. I mean, anything as simple as liking video games, or, you know, even in an area where, like, if you were to go to like a real, kind of geeky school, like a real, I don't know, great example here, U of A. U of A, my brother goes to. Very, very everyone's school, It's very hard to not fit in with someone there. I mean, I've talked to a couple of his friends and his roommates there, and he seems to really enjoy it. And I'm very happy for him that he actually gets that opportunity where I never had that opportunity. I was never interested in college. I'll probably never go to college, but, that is a great example to me of how everything should be. It's very, very sad because it could be that way. The problem is, we as a society have decided that talking about who you are and being more open with people, in many cases, depends on where you are, can be described as many ways. It's impractical, you're a sissy, you're just too touchy-feely, there's a lot of different words for it. You'll probably hear all different kinds of words, phrases, etc. But at the end of the day, to me, I always thought that was excessive and wrong. And to this day, I still think it is. It's something very avoidable. We could always talk about the things that we're interested in, but we choose not to. Why is it such a problem? Where did it come from? I mean, and again, like I said, I'm not spark noting anything, so it's a question I'm going to have to answer myself. But, in my off time, and you guys are probably going to have to answer it yourselves in your own off time as well. But isn't it interesting that we have reached this point where this is pretty much life everywhere? I mean, not always. There's a great system called a Sudbury School, and I will include some links to that in the description of the video here. I'm also streaming on Twitch, so some people, you're not really going to get a description, but check out our YouTube channel, RRB Entertainment, letter R, letter B Entertainment, and you'll find it there if you want to really find some links on it. But at a Sudbury School, students and teachers are raised together almost like a family. Basically, the whole school is run very democratically, so much so that if a student is brought up on charges, note the quotation marks in my voice there, please, if they're brought up on charges of bullying, they're put before a sort of trial of students and faculty, and all their votes are equal about what should be done about this individual. People actually come forth, testify about what happened. I mean, it's very trial-ish. And they decide if this person has really done something so awful that he really needs to be punished. So much so that many people are, voted to be expelled, or, all those kinds of things. Expelled, simply suspended, whatever. But at the end of the day, the students are very involved in everything. And in environments like this, everyone tends to be more friendly with each other, even the people who don't get along, just because there's this equal level of everyone is appreciated on some level for something that they have contributed, regardless of how little it is, because at the end of the day, you guys are forced to be together, and these schools are private. You have to pay for this yourself. And there's a lot more information about it that's kind of irrelevant to the argument right now, but, I do recommend you guys look into it. And it just hurts me so much that I and other people like me never really got that opportunity to be part of a family like that. People of all different ages coming together and really becoming a family in an education environment, You really care about each other more when everyone's vote means something, and you really listen to people. It's a very grassroots type thing. Like, for example, what Walmart used to do when Sam Walton was in charge. He used to bring everyone together, all of his employees, all of them. I mean, it doesn't matter how high or low they were, and ask them, do you have any ideas? Is there some comments, concerns, or anything you have? And they literally just called the program Grassroots. And he did it once a week, just brought the staff together. And, obviously night shift was brought together during night shift times and day shift, but, during that same day. And this school has more or less implemented that on a daily basis. Everything is very open door policy. People are supposed to talk about what they feel, how they feel about something. And this doesn't always apply to the same thing, to beliefs, opinions, things like that. But it does foster that idea that it is okay to do that. Whereas, for the most part, life in general, anywhere else, doesn't really believe in doing that. Now, again, I know there's probably going to be a lot of people who say, but Rainland, no, you can do this or you can do that, or I come from this area where, in a society we do this, and that's great. But I'm speaking from the point of view of someone who was raised in America and had to put up with this for a very, very long time. Here, it's just not the case. I have yet to find a great example to counter it except a Sudbury school. And it's very depressing because that should not be the case. It should be, this is something that we can all be a part of, something that it doesn't have to be so rare to be able to just talk about how you feel and really talk about things that you like and make it easier to socialize and get involved with people. Because at the end of the day, humans are very social animals. I mean, even the ones that try to shy away and say that they really don't like being around people a lot, they like to be around people to some point. If any human, regardless of how isolated they want to be, if they were to ever really truly deprive themselves of human contact for a very, very long time, I can pretty much guarantee you they would go insane. Suicide is not off the table at this point either. I mean, they would be very, very off balance, off kilter, whatever you want to say. They would have a lot of problems. And I'm one of those people too. I don't like dealing with people a whole lot. But, I mean, I do like to, talk to people, make new friends, and really socialize. I do. I'm on my own a lot more, but I do like to talk to people. I really do like to socialize. And it's very sad because, for the most part, growing up, I have felt very like I don't want to share my opinions with people because I always feel like I'm going to get attacked. Like I'm going to be ostracized, just like I was in high school, for my beliefs, even as an adult, when I tell myself every day it's not going to happen, and then I do it anyway. It's become such a reflex that's just so natural to me now, and that's something that always has disgusted me, that I'm probably not ever going to fix it fully. Now, I have taken martial arts, and it's increased my self-confidence very, very much, and I'm very happy about that. Now, my self-confidence wasn't like really low to begin with, but it was lower than average. The only time I really truly felt self-confident about anything is usually when I'm playing video games. That's when I usually feel on top of the world. And that's very sad to me because, again, why should that be the case? Video games are just a small outlet of entertainment. It's not life. But that's where I truly felt most comfortable. Very, very sad to me. And I'm sure I'm not alone. There's got to be a lot of people that are just like me that have this same feeling, and they don't quite know how to voice it. And again, that's what I'm doing here. I don't know quite how to voice it, so I'm just speaking. I just put on the headset, took a deep breath, and started speaking, and maybe some people understand me, maybe some people don't, and I understand that's always going to be an issue, but this is kind of the best way, I think, for people to talk about it, is to just talk about it. We really need to break this cycle. People need to be able to open themselves up and avoid that social ostracization. I don't even know how to say it, but you know what I mean. Ostra that that outlandish feeling that you are an outlander. You're on your own. You're not gonna have friends. You're gonna be by yourself. It's just how it's gonna be. Get over it. Be lonely. That's life. No, 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 no. Because you know what? That convinces people to commit suicide. And some people may be like, well, that's not their fault. They just don't fit in. Well, let's not, you know, throw that around so quickly. Sometimes people don't fit in because they're afraid to show who they are to people. I mean, a great example of this are, in the past 50, 60, 100, thousands of years, really, of human existence, homosexuals were very ostracized for being who they were. And it's not really something that I've ever thought we should concern ourselves with. I mean, who cares, right? It's just like with people's opinions about other things. Who cares if this other person likes to play sports and you don't? Why should you ostracize someone from your video game group or from your anything else, your card game group, your we like to talk about alcohol group? I mean, anything. Your group of friends could be anything. And you want to ostracize them simply because they don't fit in. The fact of the matter is, I've always thought that people fit in better when they are different because they can introduce each other to things that they thought they may not have liked and find out later that they did. Like for example, I don't really like a whole lot of video games like Grand Theft Auto. I was never really a big fan of, and yet a good friend of mine who was a baseball player, also a religious guy. I'm not very religious myself, but he again with very two big conflicts of interest there, two big things that usually result in people being ostracized. Heavy, heavy, heavy time right there. No, not me. I was good friends with him, and to this day I still keep up with him. He's actually up at Annapolis, I believe it's called, in Maryland. He's actually graduating the Naval Academy here, I believe next year. Yeah, good friend of mine, and we couldn't be more different in many ways. But he's introduced me to a lot of things that I found very interesting that I've really enjoyed. Like he introduced me to some rap music that I never really was interested in. Like the only rap song I really ever liked was Slim Shady by Eminem. And he introduced me to a couple other things that I really liked. It's rap, and for the most part, I'm not really a big fan of rap, but he still introduced me to something that I can say, you know what? I'm glad I've seen it because I like it. And it's just one of those things. I never would have found it any other way without being with someone who hanging out with a friend who just by most society's standards, stuttered again there, we wouldn't be friends. We have very different political beliefs. He's a little more right-leaning. I'm little more center. He's religious. I'm not. He's very sports-minded. I'm not. I mean, it is what it is. And yet at the same time, here's a great example too. I mean, a lot of people think that just because I'm not sports-minded means that I don't do athletic things, and I'm not very athletic. But I play a lot of airsoft. I was into paintball for a little while, and again, I do martial arts. So I'm not very athletic, but I'm fairly coordinated, and that's very different. And a lot of people would just assume looking at me, I wear glasses, I'm real skinny, I'm real geeky looking dude. No, not at all. There's a lot more to it. And I think people need to be more like that. They need to be able to look past everyone and just say, no, there's more to this person than this one thing that I really don't agree with. This one thing that really is like a big turnoff for me or whatever. Like everyone always says, like on dating websites is a great example of this. On dating websites, a lot of people say, this is a big turnoff. You can't do this, you can't do that. Like, I mean, when I was dating someone that I met a while ago, she was a smoker. I'm not. I don't smoke, I don't drink. Like, not at all. I mean, and I don't have problems with people doing it. I mean, hanging out with an alcoholic might be a little difficult for me, but, someone who drinks, not going to be the end of the world. Someone who smokes, not the end of the world. Just, don't smoke around me. I don't want your secondhand smoke. And we dated for a while, and we were fairly happy. I mean, we broke up, but, I liked her a lot, and she smoked. And a lot of people say that's a big turnoff for them. It's like, no, why should that be? You gotta think, if you don't smoke, and these people really like you, if they're really a good friend or a good, partner, then they're not going to smoke around you because they know that doesn't make you happy, that makes you very frustrated. And that's very upsetting to me too, because a lot of people will judge someone based on that. What if I had said that? I never would have met her. And we didn't stay together, but you can never really predict for sure if you're ever going to stay together. I mean, that's just not something you ever see happen all the time. I mean, honestly, the divorce rate in the United States last time I looked in 2007 was 51%. So, happily ever afters happen a little bit less than half the time. Again, those statistics could have changed today, but the idea is you gotta be more open, otherwise you never know what you're gonna find, friendship or love-wise. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to find, what's actually going to be out there, what kind of friends you're going to make. And another big thing about that too, this is gonna lead me somewhere else too. Where I've grown up, I've always lived in very conservative, very, I don't know what another way to say it, just very conservative states in the United States. And a lot of people who I've grown up around, neighbors, things like that, so a lot of them always are pushing that idea that people who come to this country need to learn English. And that's probably true. That's true. They should learn English. It's the language of the nation here. But they themselves are not ever willing to learn the language of the foreigners that come here. The Polish, the Germans, the Spanish, the Hispanics. I mean, all these different people that come from all these different areas, they all speak different languages, and a lot of people really don't understand that it goes two ways. It really does. It splits two ways. If you want to open yourself up to the world, a great way to do that is to learn the language of other people. Because when you speak another language, you really do meet a lot of people. Like me, for example, I speak fluent German, somewhat anyway. I haven't actually grown up in the country, so a lot of my grammar is very off. I don't conjugate very well, but for the most part, I can hold a conversation with somebody. And uh, that's opened the world to me. I mean, on Steam, I meet a lot of people up there, have quite a few friends from different, areas in Germany and whatnot, and things like that. And it's just a thing I think people also need to be open to, learning other languages. Because a lot of people think it's also just about, uh, can you make money on this language? Can you translate for a company or something and just make money? It's like, no, you don't need to do that. That shouldn't be your prime reason ever for learning a language. I mean, your prime reason for ever learning a language should be whatever you dictate the prime reason is. Whether that is for money, whether that is for friendship, whether that is just for bettering your life. Because a big thing is they say that learning languages helps with self discipline. Also, it helps with the grammar and vocabulary of your first language. It also helps with memorization and supposedly helps with Alzheimer's. The more languages you speak, supposedly that helps with Alzheimer's. Just something I've heard. I can't really confirm that scientifically, but it's one of those things. And there's a lot of benefits to it. But most of all, what the point I'm trying to make, of course, it all leads back to the same point. Being open and willing to look at someone and say, you know what? I'm not going to judge you based on your full personality because, I mean, yeah, someone could be a serial killer and obviously you're not going to want to hang out with them. But are you ever really going to judge someone so harshly that you would not be open to just talking to them, deciding for yourself if this is really someone you'd like to hang out with? Because it's so harsh to me to judge someone based on any single reason. Because these people that speak other languages, great example, you learn their language, you find out later these are great people that you would like to hang out with. It's just one of those things. And it all leads back to the same thing. So again, my main point is look at everything. Be willing to be open to people regardless of who they are, where they come from, where they were born, what they like to do. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is really limiting yourself in many ways. In your dating life, in your dating scene, whatever you want to call it, your friendship, your list of friends will be smaller because you have this personality, you have this restrictive personality of not wanting to deal with other people that you judge so harshly to begin with. I mean, there is a lot to it. And I think it all ties in together that it's one major personality change that you have to make. And it's as simple as walking up to someone you never would walk up to ever. Someone you just look at and think, God, what a weird person. I'm not gonna talk to them. Just walk up to them, say, hi, how are you? My name is whatever. What do you like to do? And some people may find that creepy. Some people may find that weird. I know in a lot of societies, people have the idea that that's unacceptable. Break the social norm. At the end of the day, we're all humans. And we all speak different languages. We all look different. We all come from different places. But at the end of the day, we are human beings. And we're going to be pretty damn similar at the center where it all counts. At our personality, our core, our very being. That's how we are going to be. And that's just something I wanted to talk about, guys. Ruminate on it a little bit. Feel free to drop me a couple comments. I'm always interested at seeing what you guys think. I'm always really into that, man. So, thanks for watching, and you guys have a good one. Bye.